What's going on, everybody? You now officially kicking it with RJ. I want you guys to kick out those feet, kick off your shoes, get something to eat, get something to drink. Today, I'm going to be doing the official review from Mafia, the Old Country. And before we really get into it, I want you guys to smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, helps the algorithm. Anyways, let's get right into it. Mafia, the Old Country is an action-gripped, story-heavy game about life in the early 1900s Mafia. It tells the tragic rise and fall of our protagonist Enzo Favara, blending a gripping Mafia tale of love, betrayal, and ambition with weighty combat and period-authentic gameplay. Step into 1900s Sicily, where loyalty is tested, blood is spilled, and Mafia the Old Country shows the dark, gripping origins of organized crime. Now I'm going to break this video up into a few sections. First, gameplay. Now the mechanics, honestly, the controls were super similar to previous entries such as Mafia Definitive Edition and Mafia 3. They kind of went with the same thing, and I'm glad they did. You know, it kept the controls similar and we were used to them, so I'm glad they did that. Vehicles, I really enjoy driving vehicles in this game. I mean, yeah, we're not driving on roads, we're driving on like dirt roads and stuff, but I don't know, just whipping Tommy's taxi through those dirt hills was freaking awesome. I really enjoyed and looked forward to when I got to drive in the mission. It really felt good to drive in this game. And weapons, they felt like old weapons. Now, I mainly used Vito's 1911 through the game, but when I got to use the weapons for that time period, they felt good, but clunky enough to make sense for that time period. And knife fights, this is something new that they brought to the game, or kind of new. They brought back that Mafia 2 fighting style where you kind of just, it's like an interlock, you have a bunch of buttons you could push to do a certain thing. I really like that they brought that back, and I'm really hoping they bring back, melee fighting and stuff like that in the future Mafia. I'm really hoping to do that. I mean, this is a step in the right direction. And difficulty, I guess I didn't really realize that there were difficulties in this game until about halfway through. But I played at medium, and while I did die a couple times, it really wasn't a hard of a game to play through, and I'll probably play it on hard someday. Alright, next, the story. Now, before we really dive into it, there will be spoilers, so skip to the visuals and sound if you don't want to be spoiled. I'll section off this video just for that reason altogether, because I understand, you want to watch a gaming review without being spoiled. Skip to that and you will not be spoiled whatsoever. And before we really dive into the story, I will say I'm not going to do a play-by-play of the story. If you want to see the story, check out my Mafia the Old Country playlist. I'll leave it in the description. It was such a fun time and I really enjoyed playing it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, check that out. I recommend. So the story goes from 1904 to 1907. Not really a long time, 3 years, but a lot can happen in 3 years. Anyways, we begin. Enzo Favara, a child laborer in Sicily's sulfur mines, dreams of freedom with his friend Gaetano. After a tragic collapse kills Gaetano, Enzo scars a brutal overseer, Il Merlo. Chased down, he is saved by Don Bernardo Teresi, a rising mafia boss. Brought safely into the Teresi family, Enzo proves his worth through loyalty and violence. He rescues Isabella, the Don's daughter, and secretly falls in love with her, despite warnings. Enzo also becomes a made man within the family, gaining trust. The underboss of the family, Luca, becomes more of a mentor to Enzo, while the consigliere Tino distrusts Enzo from the start. The Teresi and Spadaro families start to spiral into war. Enzo kills Merlo after multiple clashes, but peace shatters ultimately when Baron Fontanella betrays Teresi, a bloody ambush that leaves Don Galante and Luca dead, forcing Enzo to assassinate Fontanella and Spadaro, thus ending the standing feud with the families once and for all. After the war, Enzo is then rewarded with a mine he once slaved in. Enzo then sees the Don's cruelty worsen. Teresi becomes more paranoid, crushing workers harsher than Spadaro ever did. Enzo, becoming more disillusioned, plans to flee with Isabella, who is then pregnant with his child. As Enzo and Isabella attempt to flee, they are captured by Tino and Cesare. The Don has found out that Enzo and Isabella are together and having a child, and he is pissed to no end. During this, Mount Etna erupts during Teresi's purge. Enzo then fights Cesare and wins. While trying to get away, he is forced to fight Teresi, and then Enzo then kills the Don, but then he is ultimately mortally wounded by Cesare. Isabella, forced to have her baby purged potentially, she flees the Don's mansion and kills Tino in doing so. She then flees Sicily for America. As the ashes of Sicily faded into the horizon, Isabella stood on the deck of a ship, Enzo's final letter trembling in her hands. His words spoke of love, regret, and a dream of life free from bloodshed, a dream now left to her alone. As she wiped her tears, the fog lifted to reveal the skyline of Empire Bay, towering and vast. The camera lingered on the city as the letter's last lines echoed in voiceover, before the screen slowly faded to black. Now, after that beautiful story, another thing that made Mafia the Old Country so memorable was its characters. Now, I'm not going to do a whole dive into each character, just a generalization of what makes them work so well. First up, Enzo. From a worker in the mine to a made man, all while being romantically involved with the boss's daughter. Enzo was a very good tragic character who made you feel for him and wanted him to have a good ending. And then there was Isabella, the boss's daughter, someone who was very restricted to what she can do and who she can see. Also has goals of leaving and makes you really feel for her situation. And then there was Cesare, part of the game's trio. Every Mafia game has a good trio. Cesare is a good character who is loyal to Don Teresi, who is obviously jealous of Enzo's success later on in the story, all while making his final action make a bit of sense when you really think about it. And then there was Luca, the mentor type to Enzo, teaches him how to use a knife properly, and there's also Sam Trabani's father. Pretty interesting to me. His final words also warned Enzo to leave, leaving a big influence in Enzo's final days. And then there was Don Teresi, who when we started from the story, was the good guy compared to Spadaro. While he's decent to Enzo, once he finds out about Enzo and Isabella, he flips his shit and tries to kill Enzo. While he did turn in the end, he was a good character who had a bit of depth and was enjoyable to watch as he became the bad guy over time to Enzo. And then there was Tino. To put it simple, Tino was always an asshole, from beginning to the end. You never really trusted Enzo, and he was just someone you loved to hate. One of the most satisfying kills in the game. And then a bonus character. Now, I wasn't going to mention Leo at first, but he's such a big character in the Mafia series, and surprisingly, he was such a big character in this game, you can't not mention him. He feels like fan service, but he doesn't, because the game connects him in such a good way to make his presence carry meaning. And now the narrative was clear, concise, and it showed Don Teresi in a good light, and it showed them in a bad light. It showed what life in the old country's mafia really entailed. Alright, next, visuals and sound. Now the graphics look beautiful. Some scenes look like a postcard to Sicily, one of the best looking games I've ever played. And the facial features, yes, they could have been done a bit better, but other than that, it's a good looking game nonetheless. Now the sound design, the game sounds were out of this world. They were great. The guns sounded great, the engine sounded amazing as well, and the music that the game provided was well fitting and elevated every single scene. I mean, I know it's kind of like a fan servicey type thing, but at the beginning of the last chapter, L'America, the Mafia 2 menu theme song kind of sprinkled into that chapter was just a cherry on top. And I'm not saying that that's the only thing that's really there. I mean, every chapter has beautiful music that just elevates this game to another level. And the rumble that gets louder and louder with every chapter until it eventually erupts in the last chapter is just a cherry on top to how brilliant the sound design is in this game. And honestly, the game ran great. No bugs whatsoever when I played. It never crashed or glitched out on me once. Just an amazing experience altogether. Now my overall experience, I really enjoyed playing this game. I look forward to playing it for the channel when I wasn't playing it. I'd stay up till 3 in the morning playing this game, just making videos because that's how much I really wanted to just enjoy the story and just take it all in. And not really trying to talk about other games, but compared to playing Mind's Eye, I don't know. Mind's Eye was, by the end, I was kind of done with it. But with Mafia, the Old Country, I couldn't get enough. I wanted to play it through the end to see what happens and just make the videos and enjoy it. I really enjoyed playing through the story. It was a fun story to play through. And I just enjoyed about every part of this game. Like I said, the story, the characters, the amazing graphics, and really my only gripe with this game is that it could have been a bit longer. Instead of like 14 chapters, it could have been like between like 15 to 20 chapters. Just some extra time to flesh out Teresi's change a bit more, to see kind of what he really was like when he had power. Now, I've noticed that the Mafia series has problems with this. They did this with the original Mafia 23 years ago. They did it with Mafia Definitive Edition, even though they didn't want to step on any toes when they made that game. They're trying to restore their reputation after the pretty bad launch of Mafia 3, which I love Mafia 3, but it wasn't the greatest launch. But like where Salieri goes from like just the good guy to like the bad guy in like 2 chapters. I mean, they fleshed it out in the remake 5 years ago, but like I said, they didn't really add to it. They just kind of added what they could during the game, which is, like I said, I'm not mad over it. I just think that the Old Country could have been a lot longer. Just like I said, like 5 to 6 more chapters would have definitely done it better, but I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all because I still enjoyed the story for what it was. Now, what I would rate this game, I would say a solid 9 out of 10. And why not 10 out of 10? Just simply the story is a bit too short. A good story nonetheless. I really enjoyed it, like I said. I just think that this story could have definitely had a few more chapters to it just to kind of flesh things out. But nonetheless, I enjoyed the story, and it just makes me excited for what Hangar 13 is going to produce next. Now, it probably is going to be quite a few years till they produce something different, just because they're one studio and you're not really going to get, a game every 2-3 years from Hangar 13, which is fine. Just let them produce their craft and give us something beautiful in 5-6 years, however long they need, which is perfectly fine to me, and I'm super with it. They restored their reputation, and I'm super excited to see what they have next. So anyways, guys, that is my Mafia, the Old Country review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making it. I love reviewing these games and just kind of going through and giving my experience and just what I thought was great, what I thought was bad, what could have been done better, what could have been done what you couldn't do better, you know what I mean? Just I love doing this stuff and I'm super excited to see what I'm gonna be reviewing in the future. So anyways guys, before I leave, I want you guys to smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, helps your algorithm, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care now. Bye.